Very good afternoon. I think we can stop the music for now. Okay. Hi. Very good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to join today our MIS, the Marketing Institute of Singapore Lunchtime webinar. All right. Today is our 8th day that we're conducting this webinar itself, and we have today a top lawyer in Singapore itself, and he's none other than Mr. David Shanugam, which will be talking to us on something that's very relevant, especially to business owner. He'll be touching on the employment obligations and duties, especially during this COVID-19 period. But before I go on, inviting Mr. David to come on board to share with us, I would like to actually appeal to all our attendees. Thanks for joining us today. And I can see that today yet we also have a record-breaking attendance. And if you do have any questions, all right, you can always post it under the Q&A sessions, right? The Q&A panel itself, which you'll be able to find somewhat towards the bottom of your screen. And then if you need to bring in anything, you can also join us in the webinar chat. Now, to also let our attendees know that please log on to our Facebook, all right? We are in fact on YouTube and Facebook Live today. All right, help us to populate our webinar, our lunchtime webinar. Now, as I've mentioned yesterday, that MIS will be extending beyond the 4th of May, right up to the end of our lockdown period. In fact, to the end of our circuit breaking period itself. Now, this is our way in sharing with communities on the initiative and keeping you company during this period of time, during your lockdown period at home. Now, as you can see on the slide itself, over the past 8 days, on all our speakers that has been with us. And well, we certainly had a wonderful time. And thanks to all the attendees and the viewers that has really given us a lot of encouragement. Okay. And certainly MIS will do our very part to contribute to the business community. Thank you so much. Next, I would like to also mention that, MIS itself, we are not just a institution that offers executive courses. We do have our membership. All right, you are always welcome to join us as our members. All right, if you want to find out more, please log on to our MIS website where you can join us as an associate members. Now, as our associate members itself, there are a lot of benefits that you will be able to reap from us. One is, of course, to our executive training program. Okay, now looking at the slides right now, of course, MIS, we are doing our part in terms of our corporate social responsibility. We've been running these mass donations, okay? Now, these mass donations, like what I said previously, is not for us alone as in Singapore. We are looking at donating the mass to our neighboring countries. The very first place that we will be going will be to Philippines, where we know that there are a lot of people within the community that are not equipped. They are very ill equipped with even the basic protective gear, such as a mask. Okay, so therefore, do join us in terms of this mask donation. As you can see, there are 2 numbers over there that you can call. Now, tomorrow we'll probably flash our QR code, which will make it even easier for you to join us in our mask donation. Okay, all right. Nevertheless, I think today's topic, I think as an employer myself, it's something that is always on my mind, that how can I at the same time fulfill my obligations as an employer, and at the same time to take care of the interests of the employees. All right, so this is where I think Mr. David Shanugam will be helping us to answer to some of these questions. And of course, Mr. David Shanugam itself, he is currently an advocate and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Singapore. All right, and he holds a Bachelor of Law degree from the University of London. And not just that, he also has a MBA degree in finance from Victoria Universities. He has with him many years of experience in the private sector and is currently presently working for a law firm. All right, and he is also a regular speaker and trainers, conducting seminars and workshops regularly for directors and HR and finance professionals. Now, I think for those who have joined us yesterday during Professor Sata's session, it's a very gloomy environment. I think all of us know that we have yet to feel the impact of the COVID-19. In fact, the whole impact will also come in during the post-COVID-19 period, where I think a lot of businesses will be faced with challenges. Okay, all right. So today is where we have our trainer from MIS, and at the same time a established uh, lawyer, to share with us what are the ways and what are our obligations, and looking at business challenges during this period of time. So at this point of stage, please help me to give a round of applause to invite Mr. David Shanugam to join us in today's session. Hi, David. Is David around? Can someone help me to invite David up on the screen? Hi, David. Now, while waiting for David to come on board, let's talk about the legal side. I think our Singapore government is actually doing a great deal in helping to sort of soften and buffer the impact right now for business. As they have also mentioned that we probably will be expecting a lot more bankruptcy coming from the business sector. So hopefully David will be able to come on board right now and to share with us more on his views on how we can, in terms of execution of our obligations as an employer. Okay, so do we have David on the line, please?
Yes, David is online.
Okay, David, are you able to join us right now? Any technical difficulties that you're facing? Please hang on, our attendees. I think earlier on we were with David in the breakout room, so I believe he's uh, coming on board. So can our technical staff please help David to switch over to the main room? Okay, maybe at this time while waiting for David to join us, um, let's talk about some of the services that MIS is offering also. Now, as you know, the MIS, we're not just an association, right? MIS, we have existed for the past 46 years. And I think many of you probably have heard before that MIS, we do have our own diploma courses. So can you help me to flesh out the diploma courses, please, technical stuff? Okay, so this is, hang on, okay, MIS, in fact, we do have our diploma in sales and marketing. And I think the advanced diploma in digital marketing is where we are seeing an increase, a growth in terms of the numbers of people joining us. Like we said, this period of time is where during our lockdown period of time, what are you doing at home? Uh, so I would recommend that during this period of time is where we can pick up skills that will actually help us. So don't just sit down and do nothing. Perhaps you should invest your time to do something productive. All right. So to learn a skill set. Now, when this whole COVID-19 lockdown period is over itself, in fact, the landscape of business will change. So I think one of the questions that you need to ask yourself is, are you ready? Okay. Are you ready for the next phase? Now, things will be different um, then, after the lockdown period itself. There are a couple of skills that I think over our past few days that I can pick up from our speakers that will be highly in demand. I think one of the skills definitely we're looking at is actually the digitalization of business. All right, so it will go on an accelerated path right now, especially when all of us during our lockdown period we are so used to uh, having meetings on platforms such as Zoom. And on top of that, I think the digital marketing, to equip yourself with a digital marketing skills would be an essential skills. Okay, and beyond that itself, the coding professionals, the IT professionals that are involved in coding and programming. Now, this is another skills that you can actually pick up. All right. And another skills that you can pick up will be on copywriting itself. This is where a lot of companies will be going on digital marketing, trying to create content. All right. So digital marketing itself, with content creation, that would definitely need copywriters to actually put up very good content. I would also recommend at this period of time to pick up skills such as video editing, content creation in terms of YouTube content itself. So as you can see, there's a surge in terms of YouTube content right now from companies that during this lock-in period will invest in digital media, all right, to promote themselves over digital platform. And through yesterday's, in fact, with the conversation with Professor Sata, the other industries that are interestingly uh, facing the growth would be in the AI, the automation industry itself. Now, automation and robotic, in fact, it's nothing new. Are we
Okay.
hearing David? So for
Start
automation,
video.
yeah, we have started. Okay, I thought enough of me talking. Mr.
You can
David,
see me, right?
are you with us right now?
Yes.
Okay, okay, so please take on your presentation today. So I've given, just in case that you join us late, I've given an intro on you. At the same time, on today's topic on your employment's obligations and duties, including some of the business challenges, which I think the business communities are facing right now during our COVID-19. Okay, all right. So please kick off your sessions, David.
Okay. Hi. Hi, everybody. I'm going to start off with the seminar on business challenges under COVID-19. So before I go into it, I will just share with you some of the things. Okay, I'm going to talk about it because it's a short seminar on employment. So I'm going to share with you some of my thoughts and some of my issues on this COVID, because it's got two parts on the employment part where you are talking about how you should deal with it. But before I go into the challenges of the business part, I'll talk about some of the issues that arises from the challenges and also give you an outline what you should do. Okay. Now, as I go on, I will talk about the COVID-19 challenges for companies. What are the challenges for various? What should be done? Best solution. Other question answer, and I'll also share with you some of the challenges faced by employment as well, and go into it. I will go more into the challenges first, then and talk about some of the issues we have to discuss. I will talk about some of the thing about employment. Okay, now, if you are talking about a devastated, first thing is that this saga has devastated the whole world. Countries' economy has come to a halt. Air travel has been suspended, and border controls have been tightened, and there are other issues as well. Okay, there's an error on this part. Now, what you need to remember is that if you are talking about the challenges of these countries and economies, now let me first talk about Singapore. Okay, now when you are talking about employment, I'm just going to share with you because there are a lot of slides on employment, but I'm going to talk to you about two things now. One is, first and foremost, is Singapore employees. Okay, Singapore employees. We are talking about Singapore employees and how we are going to share with them what are your responsibilities as an employer. Okay, so we're going to touch on some of the points because there are a lot of points to discuss about the reimbursement by government, how are they going to help you, and I'm going to share with you some of my questions that have been asked to me as an employer. What must I do? What should I do? Okay, I got a lot of clients in the construction, engineering, as well as other small businesses and retail as well. So when you are talking about employment per se, okay, I'm going to sit down and cover some basic key points so that I don't go into a long discussion about the employee, because employment obligations, if you take the Employment Act, can go for 2 days seminar, and sometimes they have so many issues to talk about. Now, what is your first question you're going to ask me is, all other business, social, other activity cannot be carried out from the home, must be suspended. So most of your employees will be working from home, right? You're at home, I'm at home, a lot of my staff also working from home. In view of the impact measures of business, many countries have introduced schemes to help business employees. Many countries have introduced budgets to help business owners. Okay, we'll talk about that in the second part. Now, before I go into the discussion and share with you some of the employer's obligation, okay? Now, what are your obligations as an employer? If you are talking about an obligation as an employer, the first and the foremost thing you got to remember is two issues, okay? One is under the Employment Act, it talks about payment of salaries, okay? Payment of salaries, okay? Point number one. Now, under Employment Act says the salary must be paid within 7 days of your employment. Now, it does not change that particular obligations. So when you are talking about overtime, if the employee does overtime, of course you pay, but of course now all are under COVID lockdown until the 1st of June. So what are your obligations? Number one, you are talking about very, very clearly is two part. Okay, I'm going to talk about the business part later, about how you settle your contractual obligation. But of course, first part is the employment part. I'm going to go more into detail. When you talk about employment per se, when you're talking about employment per se, first and foremost, are you under an obligation to pay all your employees? Do you have an obligation to pay all your employees who are under COVID-19 lockdown from the 4th of April till now? Must they be paid salaries? Answer is yes. Now you look at the JSS government scheme. Now first month they said they will give you rebate up to 75%. Now they have extended it to the following month to 75% in all industries. Now first and foremost, when you're talking about the challenges, first and foremost, are you paying your salary to your workers? Now these workers, when you're talking about Singapore employees, Singaporeans and PR. First and foremost, you have an obligation to pay their salaries. Now, government is subsidizing, okay, payment by way of vouchers. All right, they have already come out with April, they've already come out with May. Of course, for June, July, of course, they say they will undertake. We have to see what is the further announcement. Now, first and foremost, if you look at most of the employees, now, the question here is this. If you're talking about the construction industry, okay, there are Singaporeans who are working there. They're also on working from home. They're also in the marine industry, people are all working from home. Even my own employees are working from home. So what is our obligations? Our obligation says you first go back and look at the employment contract. Correct? Your employment contract says very clearly that you have to look at is what? Your payments. Are you above a particular amount, or you'll be subsidized 75%, but it will not be completely covered. For us, we are self-employed. Okay? I'm a self-employed individual. So for me, and I'm a business owner, then of course, I don't have to worry so much, because they will look at 100,000, then of course they will look at your value of the assets, 12,000 to 21,000, where you're staying. So when you look at an employee, all of them you have to pay. But if what happens, if the employee is asking to go on leave, can you ask your employee to go on leave during this period? Yes, you can, but that will be deemed to be as paid leave. But during this period, the challenge you have with the employees is this, okay? Do not in any way tell them you're not going to pay their salaries. But are you obligated to pay the overtime? That is dependent on what they work from home. But when they work from home, what is their obligation? If let's say your employees are working from home, what are the obligations of the employees, okay? Now, first and foremost, whatever duties you are assigned, they have to do, okay? They have to maybe conduct your business from home, follow up with emails, follow up with meetings, follow up with discussion. So they are still deemed to be as employees of the company. A contract of service is still applicable, and it is still running with your local employees. Your local employees in any way whatsoever, it does not extinguish your obligation. You still have to carry on. Now, when you are under this COVID until 1st of June, when you're talking to them and you're discussing with them, of course, they have to be contactable. They're supposed to respond to you. They're supposed to make sure that, look, whatever they are supposed to do, they have to do it as well. So you have to maybe brief your employees. So they're working from home, what they have to do, how they have to cover. Now, payment of salary if you are talking about, then you must make sure you pay them because you have the JSS vouchers being given out by the government. The government is assisting a lot of employers. Like I have got a couple of clients who actually are in diamond industry. They are in Chinatown. They are selling small retails. So I asked my client, hey, look, how are your employees? He said, yeah, I am not making any money. I am actually, my business is out, completely down. I rely on tourists. Then what am I going to do? Then the answer comes that, look, Mr. Shanugam, I've asked them to go on leave. Now, leave is to be consented both. And you know for a fact that leave is, of course, maximum 14 days. Each year of service under Employment Act, you get 1 day, 7 all the way to 14. That depends on the category of employees. Now, if they are given leave, of course, they have to be granted, they can use their leave, and also their salary, of course, will not be affected, and leave can be extended. Now, some of them have been told, look, we will pay you for these 2 months, then if we will see the situation, if let's say the extension carries on, then of course they will look at how to manage their, but a lot of employers have issues because they are not making money. Their businesses are not like small businesses, okay? Let's take small businesses. Businesses like, for example, if you are running a retail shop, if you are running shops in the mall, this is not part of essential services. Like for example, when I go out to buy some of the things and all, some of the opens are open. Recently, you have a barber shop closed, cake shop closed. Of course, they only can sell certain things. Okay, certain necessaries, even law and accounting and all other construction engineering are not necessary to be as services which is needed to be done. So be clear about that. Now, when you're talking about dealing with the employees, what is the advice given by MOM? What does MOM tell you that you have to do? MOM says very clearly, okay, that you have to make sure that you don't dismiss or terminate, and you should make sure you take care of your employee during the very difficult time. The government does understand that you have got issues with your bus business and running it, but you can't just tell, hey, look, I terminate all my employees now, I pay you in advance, then we go. Under the Employment Act, it covers all employees regardless of the status. Like for example, if you're talking about employees, PMEs up to 4-5, okay? Then of course, others, of course, certain benefits will not be there. What are the employment benefits? First is payment of salary within 7 days, payment of overtime within 14 days. Then of course, medical benefits, okay? Then you have issues like working on public holiday rest day, okay? Not doing work, overtime more than 72 hours, all right? The definition of overtime within more than 44 hours. Then, of course, medical benefits. How does it kick in? So can you, for example, let's say you have got an employee who's on maternity benefits. Does it apply? Answer is yes. Now, of course, now the Act has been amended in this 2019. It says regardless of the employees, what is very important is come to termination, dismissal, they're going to be very careful about this. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go into the depth of termination because there are a lot of issues to discuss. I'm doing a seminar on a separate note. Now, what I'm going to talk about is what is your concern? Now, your concern is your business. How is it going to carry on? What are you going to do? So, when you talk about local employees, okay, you have to make sure that everything is done properly, like going on leave. They're going to take their no pay leave as part of the term, then you have to make sure that it is approved. All leave, annual leave must be approved under the Employment Act for most of the employees, okay? Certain categories. Now, if the employee wants to go on no pay leave and tells you, look, I want no pay leave, okay? And I want extended leave, that is to be negotiated with the employer, okay? Like, for example, if you have Malaysian workers, okay, who have left Singapore, now they need to have, and for example, they want to come back to Singapore, then of course, it will be on a no pay leave because it will be deemed as no pay leave. But of course, example, Sembcorp has told all the employees that, look, we will allow employees to come back, but that after the COVID is lifted, you can come back. Now, if there are employees who are already currently working in Singapore, or employees who are currently working in Singapore, and they're like, and they are working, of course, you will continue to allow them to work as normal employees, okay? Unless they have an LON or EON, then it's a different issue, if they are medically not sound. But what you need to take note of is, if you are talking about other foreign employees who are PR and who are on passes, of course you carry on as per normal. Now, if you're talking about classic example, SIA has been grounded in the aviation industry, right? What is the status now? All the employees were told to go on no pay leave. Now, some are employed in good hospitals, in as health, in the health industry. They have been re-employed. Some of them have been employed in good hospitals. I'm giving you a lot of examples to share with you. What you need to do is, you need to look at your industry. You got to look at your. So solution is what for Singaporean and PR. You got to make sure that you carry on your employment because you're being JSL. If you will not to pay them, or if you are not going, then of course the government has stated that they may revoke that voucher being given, because that is to assist you. Okay, it's not to assist you in your thing, but to assist you on that basis. Okay. Now let's go on with the next one. Job support scheme announced by government to support employees retain and continue to pay local employees even during periods of reduction in business. This is what I was talking about just now. Okay. Now this is very important because this is what I was telling you. They are trying to employ you. They're trying to give you and trying to pay you. So you got to be very clear about this particular point when you're talking about Singaporeans and PR. Now this doesn't of course cover foreigners. Of course, foreigners is a separate thing. Here I'm talking about employment of local employees. This is what I'm talking about. Now I'm going to go on with the key points here. If you got any questions towards the end, okay, maybe the next 15 minutes or what, we can talk about some of the issues of employment coming out from here. Okay, things like a major issue, of course, will be impact on the business generally, since the lockdown affected by the COVID-19. Many countries are still in lockdown mode, except for some, like I know that Hong Kong is coming out. They are allowing civil servant. China, of course, have allowed many of the students to go back to school and universities. Issues arising from the lockdown. Okay, so like I told you, if you are talking about from an employment point of view, lockdown is not going to be as easy as what it is, because then issue arises here is, okay, the next one we'll talk about your other obligations as an employer. So when you talk about your employment, okay, we are looking at issues arising from the lockdown and all that. So if you got any questions on the employment of your employees, okay, i.e. Singaporeans and permanent residents, okay, like I told you, the previous slide talked about the job support scheme and employees to retain, and of course impact on business, since the lockdown, most business are affected by COVID-19 and all this stuff. Now, we will, as we go, okay, as you go, what we want to do is that we want to make it a bit more easier for you to go, so that we will be able to discuss things. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about the next one is issues arising from the lockdown and what are your solutions after that. The question: how companies are going to allow their goals. You still have issues how companies are going to recover from the lockdown. What are the basic strategies they have to look at, how to work out practical solutions. Okay. Now, if you talk about certain industries, okay, this one is how companies are going to allow their company goals. So when you go back after the lockdown, of course, you have employees to settle, correct? Your employees, employee obligation. I'm going to carry on with that employment. Now, if you are going to talk about your employees first, you have got two categories of employees. One is your foreign employees. Now, if you know from what we have heard, that entire foreign employees who are work permit holders who are in the dormitories are all under great scrutiny, and they have to go. They are going through a lot of tests and all that. So now the government has given a levy. You don't have to pay levy, so there's a rebate given to you. Now, of course, how much the rebate? What is it all about? Of course, we will talk about it later as we go. Now, when we are talking about all these things, we have got issues how we should look at it. Okay. Now, there's one question that does JSS cover employers' CPF? Now, CPF, of course, you have to pay. Whether the JSS cover the CPF, of course, they're only going to cover you up to 75%. So you may have to pay it out when it comes to the JSS payment. Okay, so that is something that you have to look at it, because you're not going to get full payment. No, you're only going to get 75%. So, but you still have to contribute your CPF. Your CPF obligation doesn't extinguish. Nowhere is it stated that you don't have to pay CPF during this period. You still have to pay if they're Singaporeans. And of course, PR is subjected to what is to be paid lah. Then when you're looking at foreign employees, okay, you're looking at issues like how are you going to look at. This is one of the questions that has been posed. I just got it. Okay, does JSS cover employees as well? How still have issues? How are companies going to recover from the lockdown? Okay, what are the basic strategies they have to look at and how to work out a practical solution? There are two parts now. Now I'm going to look at is the legal part. The legal part as well as let's say now you have a contractual obligation. Employment is one of them we are discussing more in detail because we are supposed to go focus more on that. Now, if you are looking at how companies are going to recover from the lockdown, what are the basic strategies they have to look at? Now, this is where you have to look at from a practical point of view. Now, first one is your employment obligation. If you are going to come out from the lockdown, okay, if you're going to come out from the lockdown, and even after lockdown has been lifted, there are still certain industries which require time to recover, right? Now, let's say that you are involved in the aviation industry, okay, or you are working with logistics industry. Now, airline industry, how are they going to implement social distancing? Is it worth for airline to implement? And we are going to take one industry in particular and talk about how employees will have problems. If you are going to come back with your local employees, now after lockdown, let's say the lockdown is lifted up in 3 months. I'm just giving a scenario case. Now, let's say now the lockdown has been lifted. There are still certain things required. For example, retail, or you are into, for example, logistics. You are moving on with this industry. What are you going to do with your employees? Okay, you have to maybe talk to them, maybe take a pay cut. One of the things that have been recommended is two things. Okay, there are two things which have been recommended. One is maybe as what came out was employees may have to take a pay cut. Pay cut means maybe a 10% pay cut, 20% to be negotiated with the employees, and so that at least their jobs is there, or work on rotation basis. Okay, that means instead of working for whole one 5 times a week, like retail industry, if you are in retail, if you are in shop, if you are into the F&B or even others, then of course you may want the employees to come for 3 times a week to work. That is another alternative. Okay. A third alternative is, if you are looking at, is you can maybe look at how you can maybe send them for training. Here you have got the training schemes which allows employees to go, or maybe you can also look at how you'll be able to work out a scheme for them. Okay, and these are things you have to look at as well. Okay, now this is very important in the line of after lockdown. After lockdown be lifted, which industry you're looking at, how are you going to do, what are you going to do. Now, if you're in the airline industry, the issue that arises here is how are they going to implement social distancing? Is it going to be worthwhile for airline to have one worker, like for example, now you take the bus, you have one worker sitting all over the place. What are the financial impact? Is it worth running in the airline industry? Are the airline industry going to come up? Is it going to be the same as what it is going to be? Cross-border? There are cross-border issues. You're not allowed to move in. How are they going to phase out this particular pace after the lockdown? Like for example, Italy is now lifted. They are allowing some of them to do the mountain cycling. Okay, Germany has just lifted, but there's a fear that coronavirus may come back. So how are you going to impose part of your obligations as employees if you are looking at how are you going to run the industry? If you are in retail, how are you going to have these? People have to sit separately, different timings. Okay, so these are issues to consider as well. And of course, the last one is retrenchment. Are you going to retrench your employees? Now, retrenchment, of course, more than 10, you have to get approval from MOM and explain to them how you're going to do and what you're going to do. Now, is retrenchment benefits mandatory under the Singapore law? Now, the issue is you have to look at it from 2 different points of view. One is you got to look at the Employment Act says if you work for more than 2 years, you're entitled to retrenchment benefit. It doesn't say it is compulsory to pay retrenchment benefit. Retrenchment benefits are not compulsory under the Employment Act. Okay, so if you have an employment or service or contract of service with the employees, okay, then of course it's to be negotiated. You can, of course, as ex gratia give them some form of payments that will allow them to move on. But MOM has made it very clear that it should be done on a compassionate basis. and with consultation with the union. Now, if you are unionized, of course, you may have retrenchment benefit in your CA. The collective agreement will provide for certain form of retrenchment benefits to be paid. So depending on where you are you part of a union or are you not part of a union company? If you are a normal private limited, like for example, a normal company running a small SME with employees who are not unionized, then the issue that arises here is how you're going to handle them. Okay, this is one part of the equation. Now, if you decide where both parties come to a mutual termination, not termination by notice of employer or employee, mutual termination where the employee says, look, he wants to leave. And he says, look, I, on my own accord, want to leave because I want to take a break first. Okay? It's an employee. Then, of course, you can work out with him. And whether you got leave to offset, whether you want to go on no pay leave, whether you want to work on staggered hours of working, whether you want to get a reduction in the salary, whether he is prepared to work. Now, there's one more thing. If you recently see the MOM has come up with, they have said that now you are allowed to find alternative employment. Okay, if you read the papers, you look at MOM website, or if you look at some of the points they've raised is, during the COVID period, they have allowed employees to go and work, find alternative jobs. This is something, your employment contract will say you're not allowed to go and do moonlighting. But here they say, look, allow employees to go and look for alternate jobs. So sometimes some people say, look, I rather go and become a job, Grab, delivery. I can make money, or I can work for my friend and make other money. Now they say you should allow this because it affects the employees' earnings. Now this is something unique, but of course it is something which employees should inform. Okay, ethically speaking, employees should inform their employees. Now that's something I'm talking about. So how are you going to share the safety aspect? It's part of your obligation under the Act. Okay, let's go on. How countries going to implement cross-border communication? Workplace, how are they going to implement social distancing? It's a very interesting issue. Some countries are slowly coming out of the lockdown. I already told you Hong Kong is out. New Zealand is out in stages. Germany is out. Okay. China is out. Of course, they are taking a lot of things. And so when you look at it, you're looking at a very challenging times. Okay. Now, the another point which workplace, how are they going to implement social distancing? How are countries going to implement cross-border? Now, these are questions we don't know, especially for the countries going to cross-border migration, industries in the tourism industry. Okay, how is it going to be? Whether they're going to be done phase-wise. I can tell you from my personal experience and from this, it will take some time before countries open up the borders, because if there are people coming from different countries, are they okay? Are they safe? Is there a concern? I don't think anybody is just going to open up the borders. The airline industry, how are they going to do social distancing? How are they going to implement this policy? Every time the worker is going on, how are they going to be done? But these are all challenging questions. I'm putting it as challenging questions, challenging times. Now, when you are looking at this, okay, if you are from the retail, tourism industry, you will be affected by this, because even after the COVID leave, it's not that you will be able to come out of it so fast. The workplace, how are they going to implement social distancing? Now, even after your COVID has been lifted, like you look at New Zealand, they're doing it in phase. How are you going to implement that? Okay, where people, how many meetings, how many people can there be? Okay, when they're having meetings, how are you going to meet them? And if they're going to come to, if you are going to have, for example, discussion like court, how are you going to do social distancing? All the court proceedings have been suspended. Okay, you can't go to court now. All proceedings have been suspended now. Now, for example, if you're going to come out of it, which industry are you going to, like construction? I think it's going to take a very long time. From my clients, I've got quite a number of cases I need to start, but I know it have been put into a kind of slow mo. Even yesterday I got a mail from one of the person we are suing. We sent a letter of demand, and they told us that, look, can you please hold on? We're having problems with the COVID-19. I'm not making any money. That's the thing. And I could talk to all my contractors. They said, Mr. Shanugam, all this scheme is good, but we are not making any profit. Our work has stopped. Okay, so I'm going to talk about that a bit more into the second phase. Okay, and make it a bit more interesting for you to think about is your financial aspect of it. But from a legal point of view, I'm not going to talk about the contractual obligations, all right? Some countries are slowly coming out of the lockdown. Will the coronavirus come back again? Of course, that is a challenge. Like I told you recently, Germany, there's some form of indication that it may come back. So, there's no vaccine. People are working on the vaccine, when it will come, how it will come, when are you going to give the people, how is it going to be done. You can see now it's gone to Africa, it's gone to South America, okay? It has now gone to Italy. Now, it is a phenomenon. It is not something you can just find a solution. There's something, of course, you got to work on. Your employees, of course, I have explained. But if you are foreign employees, then, of course, you have to pay your foreign workers. Okay, MMM has stated, of course, you are given levy. You don't have to pay levy. Of course, your deduction, you get that rebate. That rebate can be used to offset your workers and your employees. Of course, as far as food is concerned, they are supplying the food. They're also asking employees to help and understand the situation. All right. Now, if you look at the dormitory issues, of course, after that COVID-19 is over, how are they going to be settled? What happens if the employees are all deciding to go back? There are a lot of employees actually who have expressed opinion that they want to go back after this because they miss their family. They may want to decide. So what happens if the employee wants to go back to his country? What happens if he wants to cancel and not come back? What happens if there is an issue about mutual termination? I already told you, employer termination is different from mutual. If I am an employer, a foreign employer, I say, look, I want to go back to India. I want to go back to Bangladesh. I miss all my family. I'm very frightened. I want to go back. I'm worried. Let me think about it. There are a lot of them who went back during the Chinese New Year holidays. I know a lot of them who are actually not coming back at all because of this cross-border. How are you going to send back? Are you going to get a plane for them? Is this the border restrictions going to be lifted? Other countries, like for example, recently Hong Kong, they have got people from Pakistan and India, Hong Kong residents, about 6,000 of them who are actually, Hong Kong has said, look, they will send a plane and bring them back. Singapore is also bringing back some of the Singaporeans back. So how are you going to handle this? So this is something, of course, to be worked out at that point. So a lot of them are saying, look, no, let's wait first, see how the situation is, because no work has been done. Now, of course, before we go into this, there's another thing I want to talk about is your contractual obligation. Okay. Now, there's one more part which is called the contractual obligations. Now, if you are talking about, there's a new bill which has been passed in Singapore. It's called the COVID interim bill, which is actually contractual obligation. Now, if you got a dispute in, let's say, tenancy, not to pay your tenant, one of the issues. Secondly, what happens if people owe you money? And what happens if they have not paid you? Now, for supply of goods and construction supply services, it says very clearly that you cannot commence any legal action for 6 months, i.e. arbitration or litigation. Okay, so like now, I got a lot of clients who want to bring action because their money owes. It is during that interim of the COVID, 1st February to 24th of March, during that COVID period, not before, not if you people owe you money before, then it doesn't fall within the COVID period. The interim COVID bill doesn't cover that category of. It is during the 1st Feb to the 24th March 2020. If you are affected by COVID and you're able to show that you are affected by COVID, then if let's say, for example, there are vendors who have not paid you, AR being held back, then the issue arises is that how are you going to settle the particular bill? Now, the bill has been passed on 24th of April in Parliament, and it makes it very clear that all forms of payment, rental, even payment for booking of event, booking of marriage, all that, of course, they cannot, even university fees and all that cannot be suspended or overridden. Now they've given extension of time up to 6 months. Okay, even for bankruptcy, going into our company is going to go into liquidation. Our business owners going to close their company and say, look, no more. But if you look at it, the issue here is that what is very important is how to find an amicable solution. Now, if there are people who owe you money, if there are tenants, like recently I had one case where the tenant owed my friend, he's the one. Then what happened was they went and spoke to the tenant. Then the tenant said, okay, look, this month I will pay you full. Next month, I will see the situation. So you can negotiate and come to some compromise and record it as a separate agreement. Okay? on payment terms. All right, okay, maybe now you can't pay, okay, you pay at least 25%. Or in some invoices you can't pay, you pay at least 20%. Or if there's some service or goods supplied, you pay us a certain percentage. You can negotiate with them. Okay, that is something which has been encouraged. Now, if let's say that they refuse to give, like for example, there are a lot of tenants who refuse to come down on the rentals. For example, in Chinatown area, I'm told by my friend that he's actually having rental, they refuse to come down. They said that my friend wants to come out of he's running his own business, in the diamond industry, having shops. I said, look, I want to give up the business. What do I do? So he said, now he's talking to the landlord. Landlord said, no, you find an alternative tenant. You find someone who can come in and take over the business. Now, how to find a business? Now, the lockdown, theirs is based on tourist industry. Of course, there are some locals who buy, but it's not based completely. It's 89 to 90% of its business when COVID came was affected completely, 95 business. So how are you going to solve that? So that is something that you got to work with your tenants in the first part. Now, we come to the second category, okay, of construction contracts. For example, you have back charges. You need to extend a contract. You need to do all these things. Okay, what do you do? How do you find a solution? Now, from a legal point of view, okay, what you need to do very carefully is under the Act, it allows people to be appointed as assessors. If you look at the Act, I think it says very clearly that if you're a supply contract, if you are hiring and all that, it covers a whole range. If you are talking about particular aspect, they say that they are allowing 100 assessors to be appointed under the Act who will hear disputes. You don't have to pay legal fees, you don't have to get a lawyer, but you can actually engage their services. And once a decision has been made by the assessor, there is no right of appeal. The assessor's decision is final. Normally in court of law, you have a right to appeal, you have the right to be heard, you have the right to do all these things. But you see, you are talking about this kind of issues, then you have to ask yourself, look, AR means money coming in. People owe you for goods supplied, services, okay? And of course, tenancy and all that. Now, unless, of course, you're talking about accidents, you're talking about probate, you're talking about families, those are all not affected under this COVID bill. It covers more the business aspect for owners in general. Now, what is your takeaway from this particular aspect? Now, I think it's very, very, very important to realize that if you are talking about, one is, of course, you get assessors to go in. There are 100 assessors to be appointed. Two is you can negotiate contract agreements with them, ask them for partial payment, come up with it, negotiate, come to an agreement or compromise. Of course, I already told you this must be effective for COVID-19. It's not for every case. Remember this. Okay, the bill doesn't say every people owe you money from last year and they are not paid, and all these are not covered by the COVID. Okay, for the moment. Then, if you decide, look, your business is not moving, and you want to retrench or all that we have already discussed in general. Okay, I didn't say any specific. I spoke about industries. Now, what you need to do is that you have SMC in Singapore. It's called the Singapore Mediation Center. Now, you can go to the Singapore Mediation Center or the Law Society, or you can even contact us if you need to, right? And appoint a mediator who can sit and discuss how you can settle the dispute. Maybe come up with some partial payment, come up with some waiver, maybe 10-20%. All these are alternative way of negotiating a settlement. How to find a solution now, right? So you have to look at it, because now, of course, the landlords are given rebate, don't need to pay property tax. So actually, Bharat, they're not supposed to collect the rental. That is what has been stated. But of course, that doesn't mean that it will cover the full rental. That depends on what you're working on. Okay. Now, of course, if you're looking at your industry, you look at your working capital. You may want to look at how to get in more investors getting in. Now, legally speaking, okay, of course, there are financial issues as well. But that one, of course, you can work out whether you want to get an investor in, whether you want to do like SI is doing a rights issue. Okay, I'm giving you a lot of examples. I'm just not talking to you. I'm giving you, these are some of the questions that have been posed to me by my clients. Okay, it's not just that they say, look, Mr. Shanugam, we're not making money, we're not getting anything, how do we settle? So maybe you may want to get certain form of indulgence from your clients. If you have a very big client who's giving you business, you may talk to him and say, look, can you give me time? And, can we work out something? Can we defray? Can we maybe suspend our legal obligation? It does not extinguish your legal obligation. Okay. Now, if you're talking about international mediation, recently I got a call. There were some issues about in Cambodia. Then they have got a clause saying that they can come to Singapore for arbitration. So they asked me, hey, we can come to arbitration. So I said, no, you can go to the Singapore International Mediation Center, SIMC. Okay, I repeat, SIMC for all these things. Okay. Now, this is what you can do, get a solution. Okay. So work within your framework, look at the industry you come from, look at where you are, look at your legal obligation under the COVID interim bill, look at how you can move, look at what you can. So when you go back, you have to work out this particular solution. Maybe discuss with your board management. If you're an owner of small businesses, of course, you have to sit down and look how you can manage. If you're running in big companies, of course, there may be issues of taking a loan. Maybe you have to look at other ways to manage it. So that is something which we can look at it in your own point of view, how you want to market, what you want to move, how you want to use e-technology. Now, for example, Changi, the coronavirus is very interesting. They're using AI, they're using machines to go and do all these things. So this is a bit more interesting, okay? And also very, very, sometimes it can be challenging. So if you are from different countries, you can look at it. Okay, now I've got a question here posed. I'll read to you, then of course we can discuss this as well. If you are a foreign worker and your employer asks you to resign, and if you didn't agree, will they offer termination? What is the right? Now at this moment it's a very sensitive area. You cannot ask a foreign worker to resign or terminate now. Because now of course the COVID period and all this stuff. I already told you just now when I post, I said that what is very important is foreign employees. When you're talking about what you need to remember is that you have to look at it is if a foreign worker, your employer asks you to resign, and if you can come to a mutual agreement, please sit down. Mutual termination. That means to say, employer says, okay, look, I will still pay you 1 month. I still pay you for this month. And look, if you want to go, it's your option. Okay, but asking employer to leave immediately may be a challenging question at this. Like I told you, it's a challenging time. So that is something you need to look at as well. Of course, okay. Anyway, if you got any other questions, you can always post. You can ask me. So maybe what I'll do is I will just stop here for receiving questions. If you have anything, or you'd like to ask me or share with me, or maybe post anything. I have got 2 questions. If there's any other questions you would like to ask, please do ask. I'll endeavor to answer most of the questions so that at least you're clear on the way you should go forward. Okay.
Hi, David. Hi.
Yeah.
I believe you have a last slide to share. Now, David is also a trainer with the Marketing Institute of Singapore,
Yes.
teaching various law programs for the executive itself. So, if you want to find out more, please you can always scan on the QR code and to find out what are some of the courses that David is actually offering through the Marketing Institute of Singapore. Now, David, I think very importantly, perhaps as a SME owner like mine's me. Now, sometimes the employees would empathize with your situation right now, and they wanted to help. But however, like what we said, there are some legal framework that you need to work within. Will the employers agreement out of the legal framework right now? Will it be sustainable in the event if there are any dispute out of it subsequently?
If there's an employer-employee relationship, if you are looking at employer, of course, you know that there's an employment tribunal in Singapore. Then they have this tripartite guideline which says that matter will be referred to MOM. Okay, under tripartite guidelines, what it says that first you will have a hearing heard by the tripartite guideline. You can go for mediation first. Okay, under the MOM framework. After that is not settled, then of course the employer can seek to go and file a claim. Then after that, thereafter you can file a claim with the employment tribunal. No more labor court. It is the employment tribunal. Of course, it also covers PMEs and all other class of employees, ranging from 20,000 for normal, and of course unionized is 30,000. Now, this particular issue about bringing claims, of course, is the last resort. Now, if the employee, now you must understand, the government emphasis very clearly is very clear that you must pay your employees. That's why they're giving the JSS scheme. That's why they are supporting you. That's why they're giving you levy for the foreign workers. It's not just for you to take the money. They're saying, look, you also still have to pay the worker's salary. You also still have to settle all these things. And also, if landlord tenant, they're also giving you rebate in property. So these are the issues they are giving you so that you will be able to defray your costs to a certain extent. But it doesn't mean that they're going to pay you for your loss of income by virtue of the fact that you're not able to operate your business in the construction. Now, the most affected industry right now is the airline, the construction, the marine industry, where foreigners are not even allowed to work, foreign employees. So, if you are going to deal with such issues, I think what is very important that you need to take note of is that you have to be very careful in the way you handle it at this precise moment. Okay? Now, you can't just simply say, look, once the COVID is over, all of you go back. All of you are not allowed to work anymore in the company. We are not, do you have no business? Sorry, I cannot pay you. No. You have to work out some scheme. I'm sure the government is assisting in whatever way it can. It's not providing a full 100% solution. Okay? Now, I've got a lot of clients in the construction, marine industries and all that who have come to me and asked me, and even have told me that, look, look, we are a lot. But you see, the issue here is that you should do it on a very careful way. But if the employee decide, if the employee want to, let's say the employee after the COVID, they decide to leave, well, of course. That is something, of course, is the employer initiated and is to be negotiated. So it's an employee, which is a negotiated termination, which of course the people will be allowed to work it out. Okay, does the employer have the right to ask employees to take compulsory leave during the circuit breaker period? Now, the circuit breaker, of course, you have no right to ask employer to simply ask the employees to take. But of course, if the like for example, there are some employees in some of the industries who have been told to take 3 days leave, who have been told to take this. Okay. Now, also EP, alternate employer during CB, is it to apply to foreign employees holding EP? Answer is no. It doesn't really state who they are, the class of categories of employee. It doesn't really state very clearly. It just says if you have employee, you are allowed to ask them to seek alternative employment. It doesn't say who. It doesn't really specify per se. It doesn't really. But of course, having alternate employment, of course, is now something which they have come out recently with the MOM guidelines. Of course, that is to be looked at on an employer. Like this moonlighting is not allowed. Some contracts say you cannot work with an alternate employer.
Yeah, that's true.
So these are all things which you have to work out. The best answer is you go and talk to your employees first. Okay, talk to your employees first. Now, if you're a foreign employee, wait for the COVID thing to be over, discussed. Now, we don't know how the government is going to respond and also move after that. Okay, we don't know because we have to look at it very carefully. Now, I don't want to go and comment on anything yet on it. Now, of course, if your COVID is lifted, then you have the issues that, okay, how you want to move. What happens? I did told you, a lot of them may want to go back, There are a lot of employees doing. So it's of course to be negotiated, discussed, shared, and of course you make sure that you exercise professional judgment and make sure it's done. Of course, the contract obligations are there. MOM is not denying it. MOM never said that, like, for example, those employees who are Malaysians who have gone back, they are on no pay leave. Okay? If Malaysians want to go back, so even if some employees say, hey, look, I would like to go back for 2 months and I want to come back later. And let's say they are all good employees, good attitude, foreign employees, good attitude, hardworking employees, then of course we have to look at it differently. So these are the solutions.
Okay, then we have another questions from the attendees itself. Does rental waiver applies to all businesses? So he understands that one of the religious organizations rented a unit on level 2 of a shop house, and the landlord actually told the tenant that the waiver does not apply to religious organizations. and it only applies to the retail stores, which are on level 1. What is your advice on this, Mr. David?
Okay, rental waivers to all business. I understand one religious organization rents a unit of level 2 on shop house. The landlord tells the tenant that this waiver does not apply to religious organization, it only applies to retail stores. Now, what do you mean by religious organization? Are you talking about the mosque or what? When you say religious organization means what? You got to look at like Hindu Endowment Board. But if you look at the rental part, very clearly it says commercial buildings. Okay, it says very clearly commercial. But I do not know about religious because
I would believe this probably will be referring to a commercial property, but however, offered rental to a religious organization. So,
but this is the commercial property. It's for. But I think it should be applicable because it is a commercial property. Then you have to look at the landlord tenancy agreement. What it says. Okay, I'm a landlord. I'm renting from you. It's commercial. Okay, but even if I engage in religious activity, it doesn't mean that I'm not paying your rent, right? So I think you have to look at it very carefully, lah. And but you see, as long as a commercial, if let's say I'm staying in my house, now of course even landlord tenant are given some rebates. Even if it's a commercial property, to say just because it's religious to exclude it will be not prudent, lah. Okay, I think that's my own observation. That's what I believe very strongly. It shouldn't just. Then there's one question: how if a company is using furlough law, asking staff to go on 3 months or no pay leave from April? Is this a legal dispute with the JSS scheme? Well, you see, the JSS scheme is to assist companies. It is not there to come and tell you that you can ask him to go on all these leave and just take leave and go. I already told you that if you want to negotiate, if you want an employee to go on no pay leave, or if you want an employee to go on partial leave, or you want an employee to go on anything, is to be negotiated. Like example, the landlord, my friend who's running the diamond, told all his employees, please go on a leave. They all agreed. They say, yeah, no problem, we'll go on leave. Then after leave, of course, the salary is paid. So it doesn't mean that just because the JSS scheme, that means you can force your employee to go on leave, or tell him that, look, JSS apply for 3 months, go on no pay leave. No pay leave, annual leave, working hours, short hours, reduction in salary, rotation of work, taking part-time job are to be negotiated with the employee. Understand? It does not mean that you can just tell the employee, look, I want you to leave now. I'm going to terminate you. You are going to be on 4 months, no pay leave, and I have to pay you for 1 month, plus you come back, we don't know how it's status. This is to be negotiated. So that one, I think you got to be very careful when you do it. You know for a fact that government is making very clear that with the JSS scheme, if you're not going to use it to pay off your employee, then they will revoke it. Now you've got to be very careful about all these things because it's a very, very challenging time, and all this, and the government is very particular about employment of Singaporeans and all other industries. So I think you got to use a very practical approach, not just take a legal standpoint of view. And I told you before that, like for example, SIA decided to leave all the companies. Now, of course, this is negotiated, and now they're re-employed into the industry, and they're also doing a rights issue now. Okay. Now I got one more question. I think. Hi, Mr. Shanugam. My name is Alvin. Apologies for asking a question on COVID. It says, is it appropriate to answer your question? It will apply greatly. NRSA, we have different colleagues only work with number fin. Is it wrong for multiple employees, same company holding same data for different usage? Is it wrong if another client, other than authority, asks for such data for my workers? Is it wrong for us to share with them, especially my subcontractors' data, to hold for an indefinite period of time due to client? Okay, now this is on the data. If you look at personal data, it says very clearly that data now can be changed and exchanged by the authorities, by people when they take down, they can scan all that. But do remember this point. Do remember this point that if you are holding data of other companies and other employees, and you are going to give it to another third party, and you are going to share with them, you have to be very careful about this, because Personal Data Protection Act says very clear, even IC or any other documentation, that if you're going to share with another employee, you're going to give to another employee, or even if you're going to give to another third party, this is something which you must be careful about. Authorities have got rights under the PDPA because of the nature, and of course they have a right to collect data share. All right, but if you're a company and your subcontractor is asking you, give me all your data of your subcontractors and all that. That is something you must make sure you get the consent. Okay, do very clearly get the consent of your employees before you even give. Understand? Understand or not? Be clear about this particular point. Don't just go and give it. People ask me about data. Data is not to be given out. No, even now my client's data, we don't give it out. Even if subcontractors ask, we don't give it out. So you've got to be very careful. What is the purpose and objective of you asking for the data? What is the objective? Now, if it's the authority asking, fine. But if it's something where the other, he wants to know because he wants to employ your company, then of course he's got to get a consent. Make sure there is some paperwork to say that he's consented, he has agreed, he's allowed because of these reasons, then fine. Then proceed. Okay, that's to protect your own interests.
Okay, I think we've reached the end of today's webinar session. Thank you, David, for sharing with us on the rights from the legal obligation rights from employees and employers. What are the things to watch out for? Thank you so much. All right. At this time, I would like to also bring the attendees back to our sessions. Now, remember, this is one of the sessions on from MIS itself, contributing to the business community on our lunchtime webinar. So today we have Mr. David Shanugam, and tomorrow, in fact, we will be having another speakers on board, and that's by Ms. Madeline Ernest, where she'll be touching on practical strategies for supervising others. I think this has got something to do with management, right? How you can manage your subordinates or across different stakeholders. So do look out for our lunchtime webinar tomorrow. Now, at this time, I would like to also bring to your attention on our MIS mass donation. I think I've repeated quite a fair bit over the past few days itself. Please, if you can, in your very small way, in your very own way itself, do help us with the mass donation. And of course, today's session is actually brought to you by MIS itself, and we do have our executive courses running across 9 major disciplines, as you can see on our screen right now. So if you do have any needs in terms of training, I think especially at this time when you're being locked down at home, this will be the best time for you to pick up a skill or two. All right. So we do have 9 disciplines of online courses that you're able to, that we hope can cater to your needs, so that you can, after the COVID-19 lockdown period, to increase in terms of your capability and your skill set. All right. So I think that's it for today. We thank you for your time. So hopefully we will be able to see you tomorrow again. I know today's session is pretty much on local context, offering also some views on the regional. So tomorrow we'll be back to our strategies, right? We're talking about strategies on supervision of others. So I believe this will transcend all boundaries. So we are looking forward to our attendees from the ASEAN and the Asia Marketing Federation folks. All right. So with that, thank you everyone, and hopefully we'll be able to see you tomorrow. Do join us at the same time at 12:30 on our MIS lunchtime webinar. Thank you.